Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Brock Beard from lastcar.info. And, just, I guess, welcome back on here. Was debating about whether to do a couple of live streams over these past couple of weeks with the off weeks here. And it was just nice having just some time here to kind of regroup last week. And I hope it's been the same for you guys as well. But I didn't want to leave you without for too long. So I thought about jumping back in here and doing another one here today. So we'll kind of wait for people to kind of filter in here today. It's going to be very kind of loose this time around here. So, yeah, we're just going to kind of don't really have a firm format here because, of course, usually on these shows, for those of you who are maybe new to these, I usually just do the post race shows. And last we spoke, of course, Eric Almirola's surprising win at New Hampshire that has now put him even behind Michael McDowell rankings among all the race winners this year, but still importantly in the top 16. So we'll find out how things are going to shake out from there at Watkins Glen and so forth here. Good to see Watkins Glen get back on the schedule here after they were one of the races that was cut off the schedule with all that happened last season. So, yeah. Again, really, no tires, just gas. I appreciate your pictures that you sent over from New Hampshire on there. I believe I used one of yours for the I think was it the Xfinity race or was it the Cup race? Gosh, I got to double check on all of that too at the same time. We have there's gonna be some more updates on the website here later this week. Of course, the entry list storylines for Watkins Glen will be posted on its usual day on Thursday this week. Biggest thing I've been able to work on in this time, and I've mentioned it a lot on the Twitter feed here during all that, has been recording the new audio book for JD, The Life and Death of a Forgotten NASCAR Legend. With the 30th anniversary of his final race coming up on August 11th, I felt that this was a perfect opportunity to go ahead and get that worked on. As of today, I am now up to chapter 14 in the edits to kind of tighten it up. The whole thing's been recorded as of last week. But now I've been kind of working on getting that done and hope to have that up, if not on the 11th, certainly around that time to make that available. And I am planning on doing a live stream, of course, after the Watkins Glen race next Sunday, and then a special stream that Wednesday night on August 11th, where I'll be reading excerpts from the JD book that night and sharing some other material that evening as well. So stay tuned for some more information on that as well. But I hope you guys have had a great couple of off weeks here. I know it's been kind of a long haul waiting for the series to get going, but with no off weekends between now and the championship round at Phoenix in the beginning of November, I think very quickly we're going to get much more action on the season than we can all handle here. And it certainly could be something to definitely talk about here in these next few weeks of the season. And also the return of our own trackside coverage, both for Las Vegas in September, at least is what's scheduled at the moment, and then, of course, the Phoenix finale at the beginning of November. So kind of a reverse West Coast swing to wrap things up here for this year. All right. So, yeah, I mean, it's my goodness. It's hard to tell like what we're going to be looking ahead to here. Are we going to get some more surprising winners with a couple of road courses in this next bunch of races? It seems like that's going to be really challenging. Although, of course, Christopher Bell won the Daytona Infield Road Course earlier this year. So is that going to help at Indianapolis at the now new, completely different event that they're going to run in place of the Brickyard 400? A lot of unpredictability out there. Watkins Glen has had some really, kind of hot and cold races the last couple of years. The new aero package really seemed to be a big struggle last year between Chase Elliott and Martin Truex Jr., and Elliott and Truex seeming to dominate these last few rounds of it. We did see Truex's streak at Sears Point end this past summer here with Kyle Larson taking the victory. Is Larson going to be able to do the same? He seems to be a little bit more mortal in these last couple of rounds, not being as competitive at Atlanta. And, of course, the tire failure at Pocono when he had that race in his back pocket. Kyle Busch has closed the gap. He has constantly been a threat at Watkins Glen, won there a number of times before. Could have had even more wins. I believe in 2018 when we covered the trackside action out there, had an early penalty, had to be charging back through the pack there, and still had a top 5 finish out of that. So, we'll see how things shake out. I think it's going to be an interesting stretch of races here. So a lot to kind of catch up on here at the same time. I guess really, maybe not obviously with the direct racing here, but Have to talk about congratulations to Brad Perez for locking up his ride in the ARCA Series race at Watkins Glen coming up here. Very excited for him on that. Kudos also to Josh Williams Driver Development Group for making that happen. Looking ahead to Friday's ARCA Series race there in conjunction with the return of the Truck Series that same weekend there. It's going to make for an even more stacked weekend there. Not a bad looking paint job, too, on the number 60. I believe Toby Christie's site has the pictures of his car there. So that was a bit of certainly exciting news, given the fact that he and Josh Bilicki and others have been working so hard over these last couple of years to try to make that run go. And in a road course, you never know what's going to happen from one time to the next. So that's certainly one thing to look forward to. There's been a bit of changes here at lastcar.info as well. As some of you have noticed, of course, if for those of you checking out regularly at the site, I've now brought on a new guest contributor to the site in Ben. And I certainly want to, again, extend my congratulations to him and my thanks for him contributing to the site. This is something I kind of had on the back burner for a while. He auditioned a while back with a feature he did on a driver, Bill Hoff, which is more of an underdog driver in what was then, of course, the K&N Pro Series East, now merged into the ARCA Series here. And hope to get some more content here on the site. We don't have a set schedule for him on terms of upload times. We're just kind of keeping things pretty loose for him since our own William Saki here as the staff writer is continuing to cover the ARCA Series here week to week this season, and just, of course, just wrapped up his SRX Series coverage for this year, which I thought was really exciting to see. It seemed like those articles, especially the SRX Series, seemed to get some good hits. So again, I thank you guys there for checking that out. And I hope you also enjoy Ben's articles on the site there too. Again, as I said earlier in the show here, my articles will be with the entry list storylines for Watkins Glen this weekend. And it's always exciting to put those together to kind of track those around. Those of you who are big fans of the starting grids, I definitely always suggest checking out those entry list storylines features because I kind of approach them in the same way. If you have new stories that are coming in from one week to the next, whether it's a driver change, a new sponsor, a team change, new teams coming in, I kind of approach them the same way. Those of you who are hoping to get more starting grid videos, we are still very much within a close shot of getting to do another starting grid video this year. It's at the $300 level in the Patreon once we reach that level. I believe we're at 258 right now. So we get a couple other Patreon members right there. We'll be right on top of that. And those of you that are in the Patreon will be able to vote for which starting grid I do. And again, it'll be Cup, Truck, Xfinity, any of the series this year. And the sooner we reach that number, of course, the more races you have to choose from there. So if you're interested in some Last Car swag or just want access to bonus content, definitely check that out as well. On that same note, I've been kicking around some ideas for some bonus content on there. I have another commentary track that I'm still trying to work on as well as soon as I get the JD project done here. And I'd like to I actually have another video idea that kind of came together with something else that I found recently. So I hope to get that in there for the $10 members because I want to get some other bonus video content in there. I already have the full interview with Carl Long, other qualifying clips from drivers and teams featured in the Rise of the Field fillers that are in that level, other videos along the way there too. So I'm looking to kind of add some more content on there. And that'll be really exciting to kind of get together. I think this kind of brings us full circle to the subject of the off weekends in general. There was some good discussion already about, I think was it Kevin Harvick or other competitors talking about the possible benefits of having this summer break. Of course, Kyle Busch is fully indulged in that, given his, his Instagram page or whatever that was, where he's having a great time there with the family and folks there, friends of his there. So, I'd be interested to kind of get your guys' thoughts on it. My gut reaction is I think it wouldn't be bad, at least for 1 week. I think with 2 weeks, now obviously with the Olympics, it kind of makes it just an unusual set of circumstances, NBC covering the Olympics and their own agreements with the sports and everything there. It feels like a long time here. But again, I think it really points to the difficulty of that long schedule and how challenging it is for the drivers and the teams and this marathon that's coming up here. I mean, we got the last few races before the playoffs and then the playoff push immediately after it. No week breaks or anything to lead into that. That's going to be a really, real challenge here for these teams. Whether or not it's broken the momentum of guys like Kyle Busch or Kyle Larson, who have been really good in this stretch, or drivers like Eric Almirola, who have now found their way into the playoff contention just by winning races. It's going to be hard to say, but probably whoever's going to be really good these first couple of weeks is probably going to be, who's going to be really good the rest of this season. It'll be nice to have more off weekends in the schedule. I'm still in kind of the team that thinks that every track should have just one date in the season. Make it something that's basically the one thing I still think that NASCAR could take inspiration from Formula One. And it would also be easier to market each of these races to say, okay, well, here's this venue and this is what's special about this area. And this is the history of this track or the history of this event. It stinks for places like New Hampshire that have really passionate groups of fans. They still have the remnants of that September weekend that they used to have in NASCAR, to have the modified series and other divisions out there. But I know it's not the same without the Cup Series out there. But it makes that one event that much more special. And other tracks like, Watkins Glen and Sears Point and even Homestead, back when they were the championship race. And now really even with their March race, they've kind of, I think, had a good start to it this year, just making do with that one date. And by shortening the schedule, you'd have more opportunities for off weekends like this. It used to be not too far ago, even back in NASCAR's real peak, you would still have a number of off weeks that would just happen at the same traditional time period. And, it can be exhausting for really even, again, the media members as well. I've always really never really understood how people could cover the entire 36 or 38 weekends with the exhibition events and everything and just go from one to the next to the next. Just doing it remotely is a challenge enough. I think it's good to kind of have that work-life balance, but it's really hard to do that in this particular sport here. Now, I guess there's other challenges with that in other sports too. I mean, if you have baseball, you have 162 games or however many. You have the NFL where you have preseason, the regular season, the playoffs, the Super Bowl, and everything in between. But even then, I mean, they have, and then you're right on into talking about the draft and almost becomes a year-round experience. NASCAR with having this long schedule that they've always had. And they seem to be tightening it up a little bit. I mean, by having the finale now at the beginning of November rather than the middle of it, that's a step in the right direction. But something that they can open up, especially if it's a traditional time of the year. I never really had a problem with having the Mother's Day weekend off. I thought that was kind of a nice remnant from, kind of the sports past, over the many years. Used to be they had a late July off weekend before the Brickyard 400, which kind of coincides with the one that we have this year. That was always nice too. But it would be that would be kind of another thing to look at. But yeah, I think that we're not going to really get other opportunities to have these off weekends unless they shorten the schedule up. And it seems like NASCAR is certainly willing to try different things from what we've already seen. But more work can be certainly done at that point. Alexander Green, senior comment, the field could pick up, could continue again this year. But if I had to pick a third driver, be Larson with AJ as a dark horse. Absolutely. Allmendinger, it's hard to tell. I mean, this is kind of something I was thinking about before. It's unfortunate that, you have drivers like AJ Allmendinger and Austin Cindric this year be complete factors to win these races. And yet it seems like that's so undermined by the playoff system because, of course, wins are kind of secondary nowadays to actually earning spots in the playoffs anymore. Whether you had a driver that earns their first career win or wins after several years of not winning or wins with a new team. Justin Haley's win just a couple years ago at Daytona being treated much the same way. Yes, it gets you into the all-star race still, but, it almost feels like there's always an asterisk after it because it's not a driver that's in playoff contention. It's an unfortunate casualty of the playoff system. For that matter, really with stage wins as well. You can have a driver that, wins the race, maybe pulls off a last lap pass, wasn't a factor the whole day, but it's undermined because somebody else that was really good in the stages earns more points than that driver. And then, at the same time, suddenly becomes more of a story than the winner there. Again, I'm not crazy about the current format because of that, but the more I chew that over, it kind of feels that way. And you kind of see that a bit more. Now, it's a great narrative the way it's set up objectively. You look into it this year, And of course, Almirola, punching his ticket in the playoffs is cool and everything. But the fact that he hasn't won in a couple years, I liked how Dale Jr. gave the call to the finish there and actually bringing up how many starts he's had and how few wins he's had and how many years it's been since he's won. It seems like it's been a long time since we've actually experienced that in any of these broadcast calls. So it was good to see that turnaround. I think we talked about that back in the July show, but it definitely bears repeating in that sense. But yeah, in terms of dark horses, yeah, I mean, guys like Tyler Reddick, Ross Chastain could be factors in maybe some of the wins. I think it's tricky again with these being road courses. I think it seems like it's less likely, unless it would be like a guy like AJ Allmendinger or Austin Cindric. But again, those guys aren't even going to be in contention for the playoffs, so you kind of have that to deal with at the same time. So I don't know. Let's see. Just look at my notes here at the same time. I also want to offer congratulations to Jennifer Mbibo, who is the communication director over at the Sonoma Raceway. I've had the good fortune of working with her over the years. Just received notice this past week that she was retiring after 15 years of working at the track. The track staff at the Sonoma Raceway seems to be going through a lot of changes here. Of course, the new track president, Jill Gregory, there. But Jen has always been, great, help there over at the track. Always looking forward to seeing her. Saw her this past year at the track. But yeah, now apparently some more staff changing around there. I definitely want to make sure I gave her a mention. I also want to give a mention to Robin Miller at the same time. I know that his statement that was posted earlier this week, he's dealing with my goodness. I mean, I don't want to sugarcoat it. Very serious health issues there as he's going through that. And definitely want to offer kudos to him for the article that he shared and very heartfelt message on there. If you haven't read it, I retweeted it on my Twitter page. Definitely recommend checking it out. One of the most outspoken personalities in media, period. I haven't had the good fortune to really speak with him too much. I was in the same room with him for the IndyCar races at Sears Point. But always enjoyed his very outspoken nature, not afraid to call a spade a spade. NASCAR man just posted earlier today clips from the old Pitbull show and how, guys like him and David Poole and Marty Smith and other guys in there just, being out there and being to a point where they hold the sport so much to account that the sport actually had to step in and cancel the show. Really speaks to the value of having, people out there that are really not afraid to say what's going on. And if there's a concern or if the sport's kind of going on a different direction, to be some kind of countervailing force there to try to kind of tie things back together again and make sure the sport's not going a direction that it shouldn't be going. I think that, it's a rare attribute and it takes a lot of certain individuals. And also, of course, I think another aspect of it is having that length of experience, certainly like Mr. Miller has had from all those years, working at Indy and looking at open wheel racing in general. But yeah, obviously, sending best wishes out to him. Really tremendous article that he posted this past week. Definitely recommend checking that out as well. And of course, his work over at Racer and everything, certainly something to behold there. So I definitely want to make sure to mention that at the same time. On the team front here, it seems like there was one surprise among the teams and one that was certainly not much of a surprise. The worst kept secret in NASCAR this year, of course, has been Brad Keselowski's move to Roush Fenway Racing, or I guess what's going to be, I don't know, is it going to be Roush Keselowski Fenway Racing or whatever that's going to be? Now taking over the number 6, not running his family's number 29 from the K Automotive days. Going to be interesting to see how things shake out there. And of course, opening the door for Austin Cindric to now be in the 2. Again, as mentioned earlier, with the great runs he's had at Road America and the other road courses this season, I think that Cindric is in position to really turn some heads next year. He's already done it this year. I think that it was kind of downplayed a bit how good he looked at Road America and how close he was potentially going to come. And then even before that, when he was running at COTA on slick tires on a wet track, that kid's got skills. And I know there's going to be a lot of different factors out there with this completely different car. We don't know how it's going to handle. And we certainly don't know which of these teams is going to figure it out first, even among these big money teams. Is it going to be Hendrick like it was in 2007 and even to a degree 2013? Or is it going to be Joe Gibbs? Or is it going to be Penske? That's going to play a factor into how that works out. And I think maybe having a veteran driver and a newcomer in the lineup, like with Logano and offset with Cindric, maybe that's the right approach to take. But again, it's going to be a real toss up, and who knows how that's going to shake out. But I think it's going to be exciting to see for sure. And I'm not sure how that's going to work out. We'll do some trivia here at the same time here too. I saw the comment on that. No tires, just gas. I do have this still on hand here as well, so we'll definitely go into that. Doug Robinson, I saw your comment there. Really like the Pocono doubleheader weekend. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if that's going to be the ongoing trend. I was really pleased with it too. I think it really helped that the weather was agreeing more or less, enough. I guess they had some kind of storm roll through there during the weekend there, but it didn't seem to have too much of an effect on making sure all the races actually got in. That's always going to be the problem, and as it's always been with NASCAR. It seems like when they have a highly anticipated event, it always seems like Mother Nature is just putting her foot into the ring there and being a problem there, much like we saw with the Bristol Dirt Race. Yeah, I think maybe doubleheader weekends will be something to look at. Tracks that have really big turnouts again, like New Hampshire, like some of these other tracks. Maybe they can make that work for them. I talked with Laspro about this too the other day. I think one thing that could happen, even with a road course, you could potentially do it. At Sears Point, for example, you could have one race that's on the old course, one race on the new course. Really challenge different venues there. If you want to really kind of mess with drivers in that sense, you can do that. Maybe Watkins Glen with doing one without the boot and one with it. Things like that. If you want to really make that a challenge and really just make these crew chiefs just pull their hair out, look at something like that. So yeah, maybe there's some real potential in what you can do with a doubleheader event. Now I'm not sure how practical that is. I'm sure the drivers and the teams would probably complain quite a lot about that. But then again, it seems like all options are open at this point, and you never know how it's going to really turn out. So that would be interesting to see. One Bristol dirt and one paved. Talk about something, yeah, real challenge right there. Try to get all that dirt on the track and actually, ease that up and, get that set up. That would be crazy. Do. All right. Jay Walker, thank you for stopping by here to live stream. Yeah, this is just kind of a last minute announcement on the show here. I figured I'd squeeze one in here for this. Again, I was working a lot this afternoon on really kind of late yesterday and then most of today on the JD audiobook. I'm very pleased with how it sounds so far. I think it should be really good. I'm hoping to get that posted. More than likely that's going to be posted before I republish the JD book. For those of you who didn't hear my show that I did during the rain delay at New Hampshire a couple weeks ago, Waldorf did not renew my contract to publish the JD book, which is why I'm now doing this. This has been in the works for a while. I've been working out getting the copyright back and everything. Pretty much all of that's been settled here behind the scenes, but the net effect of it is that I'm going to have to eventually republish the book myself. While doing so, I'm making some changes there to it. Not large changes. The chapters and everything are going to be the same, but just a couple of small edits here to kind of tighten it up a little bit. Those of you who have the first edition, you'll see that it's going to be pretty much about the same as the second. But again, writing is a constant process there in that case. And on the note of as to the books that are available, apparently there's no real shortage of books at this moment. There's still plenty available on Amazon if you haven't checked it out yet, as well as the audiobook. And of course, copies even on eBay, other sources there as well. So it just means that they're just not going to be further printing even more books. Basically, the amount of books that have been printed, they're just kind of cutting it off at that point there. And as I said in the show back in July, nothing against Waldorf on that. I have nothing but respect for them and thanks to them for bringing my book on board, especially as a first-time author, especially on a subject like JD that's not really that well known. I'm very pleased with the experience that I had over there, and yeah, hope to kind of build on that, of course, with the Derek Cope book and everything going forward. So, and of course, those projects are still on the way. This has no bearing on any of that. But again, big thanks to the folks over at Waldorf. And but again, the advantage is, of course, as I mentioned in the July show, The copyright goes back to me instead of the publisher, which means that I can produce my own audiobook. And that's been the first thing that I've been working on during this 2 week break. So I hope that's something you guys could look forward to here. I'll have more information, of course, once that's publicly available. On the subject of JD as well, I just want to let you know also that I still have those stickers, these awesome ones that Bruno put together here. So I definitely want to make sure that I let you guys know on that. I'm selling these for $7 a piece, and also the Kenny Irwin Jr. stickers. This is the reprint of the ones that I ordered from the original sticker. Really a great job. That I think it was Sticker Mule that produced these. Did a really nice job with the material that I used on them. So I'm selling these for $10 a piece. The profits from these going to the Kenny Irwin Jr. Foundation. If you want one of each of these, both of these together for $15. And that's, of course, through paypal.me/BrockBeard. So if you're interested in any of that, that's where you can find those. So again, $10 for these, $7 for these, or $15 for one of each. If you're interested in those, definitely check out. You can either drop me a message or drop me a DM on Twitter, or you can send that through, again, paypal.me/BrockBeard. So add over on that. We'll jump into trivia here, and we'll just kind of open the floor for any other subjects haven't talked about here so far. I'm trying to think of anything else. Well, we haven't talked about the Olympics. I guess we could lump that in there at the same time. Got to say, really been enjoying the rowing competitions and so forth. Given that was my own experience, not at an Olympic level, not at all, but at a collegiate level here. I think, again, that's kind of the greatest thing about all this is that everybody has some kind of connection to one sport or another, whether they played it or whether they had some interest in it. So that's always kind of the fun part of it there too. Gosh, have they got the track and field yet? I guess they have. I'm waiting for that. Waiting for the track and field events and checking out the cycling event that they run on the wooden Bristol track, the velodrome and all that. I'm looking forward to catching more of that action there too. Kudos to Hulu on that too. I like that they set up in such a way where you can actually see like certain clips from each event, and in just one sitting you can kind of flick through as much of this stuff as possible. I remember in 2012 when they were doing the London Olympics, they were kind of experimenting with doing like the online streaming services, and you could like get reminders of certain events and everything like that. I'm pleased with how they have kind of that set up. I mean, nothing's perfect, but it's cool that generally if there's something you want to check out, you can find it. Sometimes they cut a little bit too much out of the action. I think watching the weightlifting competitions the other day, it looked like there was one there. I think like China was really beating the Philippines, and then all of a sudden, like the award went to the Philippine winner there, and she did a great job. It just looked like the other the Chinese competitor looked like she had even better form. Then it turned out the other way, and they didn't really show what happened there. It feels like sometimes they kind of leave some stuff out. But of course, with the time difference, I guess that's the real challenge if you want to watch it live or anything like that. But really been enjoying it though. I mean, I'm certainly at the point now where we're on the leeward side of it, getting ready to get back into racing again. But it's still been good to see. So if you guys have any thoughts on stuff you've enjoyed from the Olympics, certainly don't hesitate to mention at the same time there too. Oh, Beast of Metal, you don't want to talk about the Olympics? Oh man. You like you like curling? Yes, Doug. There you go. Well, see, I don't. The Summer Olympics, I'm always partial to. It seems like those have the more traditional games that you usually see. Again, the track and field stuff, fencing is always fun. But yeah, I mean, the Winter Olympics always had an interesting atmosphere to it. I mean, the downhill skiing and stuff is always fun, and well, the curling. I mean, there's always got to be something in there that's just kind of you look at and it's kind of weird. What was that one? I mean, I'm betraying my ignorance here, but I'm really fascinated by that one shooting competition they had just a couple days ago, where you wear like the weird like Yu-Gi-Oh leather jackets and you're holding a gun, kind of weird, like you're leaning back while you're holding it. It just looked like, what was that? It wasn't like the skeet shooting, but it was like some kind of variety of it where it was like target practice. I was like, I couldn't make heads or tails out of this. But I guess they always bring new sports into it, and it's kind of a learning experience at the same time. That was the one I saw that was just kind of like, I don't know exactly what I'm watching, but they're focused. They're doing whatever they need to do. But yeah, that was crazy. So Let's see. Oh, Alex Averos, thank you for your super chat there. As you talk about the ARCA race, if not Taylor Gray should get a ban. The test issue and the crash, I step in as NASCAR to tell him to relax. It's a good question. I didn't watch it live. Look forward to William Saki's write up on that when he talks about the last place finisher for the race later this week. But I've seen the clips there. It looked like it was just like all out brawl there among some of the leaders. I'm not crazy about people straight up dumping each other out of a race. Although, again, I'm still kind of on Team Matt Kenseth for the whole Joey Logano thing. It seemed like in this particular case, I'm not exactly sure what was bringing this about, other than just even with a short field of 17, 18 cars, people just getting their tempers overflowing there. I think what's really kind of a problem is when you have a big money team that's just taking out a smaller underfunded team that gets caught in the crosshairs and they can't afford to rebuild a car. I'm kind of reminded when BJ McLeod got involved in one of those incidents that Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott had at Bristol last year. Just an innocent bystander, but unfortunately ruined a great run that he had going that weekend. I wasn't sure if that was exactly this case here. I don't follow ARCA quite as closely. Certainly the Venturini and the Joe Gibbs team seem to be their own personal sandbox for these guys, and everybody else is just kind of catching up. Scary accident, though, in that one particular wreck there where the 2 car got taken out into the outside wall. It could have been a very serious accident there at these short tracks. What was it, Winchester for this particular one? There's just no room to go anywhere. If something happens, it's going to happen big. And, it's something to look at. A lot has been written, I've already seen in the initial reactions here, about these younger drivers not showing respect to the rest of the field. And I do think that is something to kind of look at. We've seen that in other series, even among NASCAR's top 3 series. And to the point where I don't even have to name names. Probably a lot of you can think of a couple names right off the top of your head. And generally, those are the ones that a lot of people seem to have problems with. It used to be back in, the olden times that drivers wouldn't make it to the Cup Series until they had developed, until they really matured, until they were in their 30s even. Drivers like Dale Jarrett or even Morgan Shepherd getting into the Cup Series as much older people now, and having long careers even beyond that. Once you have that level of maturity, you're just not going to have a driver that's going to go out there and just tear up a ton of equipment, really expensive equipment, in elite levels of stock car racing. And nowadays, of course, in this post Jeff Gordon time, even though Jeff Gordon was a very clean driver for a lot of his career, he had a couple of incidents, of course. Jeff Burton would certainly attest to that, among others. But certainly compared to a lot of the younger competitors out there today, there does seem to be a bit of just a cultural difference. And you could always say that NASCAR has always had that, because there was a very big difference between guys like Richard Petty and Bobby Allison, or even guys like Darrell Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt that came in afterwards. Did very different personalities. And they, at that time, were probably viewed in very much the same way that a lot of the kids that come in these days are. But even then, guys like Earnhardt and Waltrip, they still came in as drivers that, they weren't teenagers. They weren't rushed through a development program over just a couple of seasons. They were short track champions. They were trying to just claw their way through the circuit and develop personalities that were notable right away when they got in the Cup Series. Very different situation. So I think that's one thing to kind of look at there. It would be nice if you could kind of turn the clock back a little bit. I don't know if you can reel that back in, though. It's going to be kind of tricky. And if NASCAR in particular is going to be set on this target where, again, winning is almost secondary to this playoff system with knockout elimination style competition, where your incentive is to prevent somebody else from advancing through whatever means necessary. And contrary to popular belief, the boys have added attitude is still very much alive. It's still kind of a part of it. I'm not sure if you can put the genie back in the bottle in that sense without just having a whole series of heavy penalties on a number of different drivers. And NASCAR has in the past found ways to make examples of certain competitors when they've really, flown too close to the sun. We haven't seen as much of that in particular cases. On the only real cases we see usually are with technical infractions. Seem to be more penalties targeted towards the team or the people that are putting the cars together, not really the drivers specifically. Even in the Matt Kenseth Joey Logano thing, he was only suspended for a couple of races after that, and he was already eliminated from playoff contention, so it didn't really have any factor in that. I don't know if we can. I don't know if we can change course on that. I think maybe if NASCAR, and I know we're talking about ARCA, of course, and of course ARCA is a whole other thing, even though NASCAR now acquired ARCA, but it's still relevant to bring up because they're all flow into each other as steps on the ladder. And a driver develops a certain habit in one series, and then you go into another series where you have knockout elimination style formats in the playoffs. Well, they're not going to really change that attitude. There's no incentive to. So maybe the change once again would be to return NASCAR's top series to a more traditional 36 race or hopefully fewer races schedule without the playoffs and all that other ridiculous stuff. And that wouldn't really make, it wouldn't really make that particular attitude necessary. I mean, I think you could say that this particular attitude has become necessary because of the way the sport is now changed. It's now changed in such a way that you have to be aggressive, that you have to be aggressive for stage points, that you got to be aggressive, to get yourself up the playoff rankings, that you got to be aggressive in keeping other people out. And aggression's fine, but not unchecked aggression. And there's just no countervailing force. So if it's not going to be done culturally, maybe it just needs to be done structurally. And they need to actually look into the way the sport was at a time where a guy like Richard Petty or Bobby Allison would make drivers like Darrell Waltrip or Dale Earnhardt earn their stripes. And you had a golden age, like in the mid 1980s, where you had the real peak of like Richard Petty getting his 200th win and Bobby Allison racking up Daytona 500 wins. At the same time, the guys like Earnhardt and Wallace and Waltrip and these other guys are getting their feet under them. And they're all like racing as hard as they can for 500 miles. You watch races from like 1984, you can't really tell as an outsider which guys are the veterans and which guys are the newcomers because they're all on equal playing field. And, they put on a good show. I'd like to believe that we get to that point there, but I just think that we're getting so many distractions out there that it's really hard to tell if we're there or not. It seems like you got guys like Kevin Harvick or Kyle Busch that now suddenly seem to be the voice of reason, where they were the guys that were, rattling the cages of people 20 years ago. And at the same time, you got other drivers coming in there that are even more aggressive. And it seems like at some point there's going to be a tipping point there, and it can only go so much further. So that's kind of where I'm kind of looking on that. Let's see. Winchester, yes. Okay. All righty. So, yeah, we'll do some trivia questions here in the meantime. But, yeah, good question on that, too. I haven't watched the Formula One race, too. I know I know everything on Twitter has already been blowing up about that. It's not really my expertise. It seems like everybody, again, I guess already on the heels of this, international incident, I suppose, that sprung up between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton over the wreck there. That just seemed like it was a racing incident. It was a racing incident with potentially serious consequences. Going into that. So, it seems like it's been interesting, but it's generating buzz. So whatever it is, it seems like they're doing the right thing. And NASCAR is going to have to figure out what they're going to be doing in response. But I think, again, as we talked about in the past, I think if NASCAR kind of, leaves their hands off of things to a certain extent and let things happen rather than forcing things, rather than having these elimination rounds and so forth, maybe they would have just a naturally competitive series. But who knows? Everything's just up in the air right now. Let's see. So again, we're doing the late 90s Trivial Pursuit thing. We'll do a few questions here for the show here tonight. The categories are NASCAR, pits, teams, tracks, drivers, and the wild card. So go ahead and mention in the chat which one you'd like here. NASCAR, pits, teams, tracks, drivers, and the wild card. Those are your categories. And everybody wants to talk about Quinn Half. It's hard to tell. I remember talking about Quinn back in the back in the Xfinity series, it seemed like when he drove, I'm trying to remember, I thought there was a time that he drove some cars for Performance Motorsports. It was one. Oh gosh, what was the name of the team? The team doesn't exist anymore. It was a 46 car, I believe, and he had some solid runs there. Maybe a situation of like a Casey Atwood type brought into the Cup Series a little bit too soon. Apparently has some great backers. I know Starcom Racing in particular has put like a ton of work into getting as many different backers as possible. We've seen a lot of brands come into the sport that you either just never heard of or have never sponsored anybody before. It's been really good to see, but it's unfortunate they can't get better runs out there. But hopefully things turn around there. I think Quinn would probably, I'd like to believe that he'd be in a situation like Gray Galding's been, where he gets back in the Xfinity series and kind of gets his feet under him. Galding's had a really rough year this year with the Means Racing effort. I don't know how much of that is driver versus team, but it seemed like when he was in the Bobby Daughter ride, I thought he was very impressive out there. Had an outside shot of making the playoffs on points, which really speaks to everything. So I think Quinn would probably benefit from something like that. I don't know what the plans are for Starcom next year and everything. I know they're very excited about the new next gen car, just like everybody else. Again, I'm hearing some similar things about it being leveling the playing field, much like the car of tomorrow was expected to back in 2007. Yet it didn't really turn out that way since Hendrick pretty much dominated that first half of a season and was part of one of the only three organizations that really figured it out in 2008 when it was run for the full time. So I think we're probably going to have something like that. '46, is that the Team Extreme car? No, that was the that was something else. Yeah, the Team Extreme in the Cup Series, but I was thinking the Xfinity Series. There was a I think Brandon Godovic used to run for him. Parker Kligerman got a top 10 with this team at Road America. It was like I want to say Precision Performance Motorsports, but it's not the Rick Mast team that he had in the 90s with Richard Jackson. It was like, but it had kind of the same name. It was like Precision Performance Racing instead. But yeah, they had some really surprising runs. I think maybe that spoke more to the team than the driver, because it seemed like whatever driver was in there, they had kind of some interesting runs. It's unfortunate they kind of fell by the wayside, but that one kind of reminds me of that. Let's see. I see a couple for tracks. Let's see. Yeah, tracks leads at 3. We'll probably go ahead and do tracks here. I know it's a bit fewer people in here tonight, but I appreciate you guys tuning in on such short notice here. We'll certainly do some trivia for you guys here along the way. All righty. Okay, first question. I think did we do this last week? I think we did. We had a really good category, I think, in the last show here, but hopefully we could build on that. What caused the 1980 Carolina 500 at Rockingham to be postponed for a week? What caused the 1980 Carolina 500 at Rockingham to be postponed for a week? Tracks it is, absolutely. Let me check my other notes here, make sure I didn't hit all my topics here. Brad Perez. Oh, Tommy Joe Martins. That was the other team. I know I left that hanging when I talked about the Keselowski thing. But Tommy Joe Martins, kudos to him. I mean, I'm not sure if it's a direct reference to Jordan Anderson's team, seeming to really work out by bringing some Cup guys on there, at least infrequently, to kind of help a team go there. But yeah, part-time effort for him next year. Put some other drivers behind the wheel. Yeah, best of luck to him on that. I think there's some tracks that Tommy is, particularly kind of a standout on. I think at Texas, when he had that great top 10 run, he and Ryan Vargas and these other guys, this may be the trajectory for these startup teams in the Xfinity Series, and whatever keeps them in there, hopefully that works out. As much as I am absolutely not a fan of Cup Series guys getting into the Xfinity Series, I am enough of a fan of these smaller organizations starting up and building a reputation of their own, building notebooks and hiring people that ordinarily wouldn't be working. I'm a fan of them staying in business. I still think the number of teams is the canary in the coal mine. And if that team is still able to exist, Pretty soon they're going to want to hire their own drivers, and they're going to be a better organization. Look how much GMS racing has changed in the time since we first even heard about them. Now they're like the top flight organization in the truck series, the defending series champions with Sheldon Creed. And even with all the sponsorship issues that have caused their driver lineup to change here and there, they're still a multi-truck organization and a factor just about any week that they're out there. So, if any team is able to keep going that way, that's something I'd be encouraged to see for sure. What caused the 1980 Carolina 500 at Rockingham to be postponed a week is the question again. We got snow, we got ice, we got a hurricane, Ronald Reagan campaign event, possibly. Hurricane Sebastian. Ooh, we're getting really specific. Gasoline embargo, presidential inauguration. Could be anything. Yeah, I mean, who knows? Alexander Green, yeah, your comment on the broadcast for Formula One. What little I have seen, I've been very pleased with. They keep it engaging, they keep it exciting, they keep you focused. Reminds me a lot, again, of the IndyCar 500 or the Indy 500 broadcast of the IndyCar series earlier this year. Anything that happens has some consequence to it. The thing I'm always tired of with Formula One is it just seems like every little thing is a big thing. There's no sense of scale. If the racing incident happens and both the drivers are okay, suddenly it's like, there's lawsuits being thrown around or something like that. Whereas even in NASCAR, with as sensational as the sport gets, it's like, okay, well, yeah, they wrecked him, but okay, well, on to the next week. The driver flips the other guy off as he drives by, and then we're back on to the next race. So, I don't know. What caused the 1980 Carolina 500 at Rockingham to be postponed for a week? The answer is indeed snow. Informer, it's snow. That is correct. IndyCar 500. Yeah, no, I'm still knocking the rust off here from the off weekend for sure. I was hoping I didn't say that, but yep. The IndyCar 500 sounds just amazing, but it sounds like a video game. Yeah, snow. Maserati 9, I think you were the first one on that one, but several of you got that. Okay. Hang on. How about this? Here we go. What event did Johnny Mance, Herb Thomas, and Nelson Stacy all win on their first try? What event did Johnny Mance, Herb Thomas, and Nelson Stacy all win on their first try? Alrighty. Okay, seeing several guesses for the Southern 500. I believe you guys are right. And the answer is indeed the Southern 500. Absolutely. Southern 500. All righty. Okay. Next question. What state did Darrell Waltrip travel to for his first NASCAR Winston Cup race? What state did Darrell Waltrip travel to for his first NASCAR Winston Cup race? What state? All righty. Guesses for Hawaii, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, Pennsylvania. All right, we're all over the map. It's turned into a game of where in the U.S. is Carmen Sandiego. All right, what state did Darrell Waltrip travel to for his first NASCAR Winston Cup race? All right. What state did Darrell Waltrip travel to for his first NASCAR Winston Cup race? All right, I think we're probably going to get just about all 50 states on here pretty soon. Texas, there you go. New York, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Florida. All righty. The answer is Alabama. Alabama. So Talladega on that one, but Alabama is the correct answer. Charles Peterson Jr. Looks like you were the first one on that. Absolutely. Bean Boy 89. Nope. Jack Garland, you were the first one for the Southern 500 question. All right. Let's see. Here we go. What track began hosting the Mason-Dixon 500 in 1971? What track began hosting the Mason-Dixon 500 in 1971? That's your next question. Man, I need a haircut. I don't like how the beard looks really thin. The hair looks too thick. It's just all over the place. It looks so silly. Oh my goodness. I need to shave something in the side of this or something to make that work. No, that would look worse. Okay. What track began hosting the Mason-Dixon 500 in 1971? Yeah, don't shave the beard. It's part of your marketing. That's absolutely true. But for those of you longtime viewers of the show, and actually I think you know about this too, Southern small European hockey markets fan. Oh my goodness. Somehow I thought it was a different username there. Yeah, that was back last year when I had just the mustache. It's like, no, that's not working. That's not working. It was just like less and less facial hair over a space of a few weeks there. But yeah, no, I just need to trim this shorter. That's what I need to do. That usually looks better. I don't want to look like I'm just hanging on to the last, like doing a Homer Simpson thing, the last last bit of hair there. That's why I'm a big fan of hats. I'll tell you what. That's the big thing. What track began hosting the Mason-Dixon 500 in 1971? All right, so we got guesses for Dover. We got several guesses for Dover. Not Gases. No, it was only one Joey Gase, but several guesses. Man, I'm glad I'm doing this show this week. Otherwise, next week's show would probably be really terrible. So I'm glad that I'm doing it today. I wasn't going to. I was either going to do it today or tomorrow. And I'm like, well, I was getting burned out doing the thing with the JD book. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a breather here, just do a stream. And I'm glad I'm doing it. So I'll probably hop back into that and get a couple more chapters done tonight. And then hopefully, if I can get that done by the end of the week, that's the goal. That's definitely the goal. Because I wanted to also get the stuff transcribed for the Cope book and the Andy Belmont project for Rise of the Field Fillers, but that was just entirely too much. So I'm hoping that those will be those are the next things on the list. Bonus content for the Patreon. I've not been bored in a long time. I'll tell you what, it's been good there, but more stuff is coming. In fact, what really messed us up, and I mentioned this I think a little bit in the July show. I had an idea come together after it came back from Texas of a video that I'm going to do in October. And I pretty much just started working on that. So that's what shelved the Derek Cope transcript, and then really ultimately the Andy Belmont project. Both of those are still coming together, but they just kind of been idling here in the background. Now I'm pretty much at a good stopping point with that. And after I get done with the JD thing, I think I should be able to get back to those again. It's just hard to really kind of shuffle this, but I'm hoping it'll be worth the wait. That's going to be the big thing, too. And the nice thing is by getting this thing for October set, I can focus on the field fillers thing again and start getting those episodes going. Because these next couple in particular, I really want to kind of get those out, sooner rather than later. So those of you in the Patreon, everything, just hang tight. We're going to get some more content for you to have advanced access to and everything on that, too. And I definitely want to make sure that's working. And yeah, if you need to stop being in the Patreon for a while. I know it's now the beginning of the month here. If you want to step out of it for a bit here until I start getting some more content on there, I totally understand. So don't even worry about that. So that's a big thing too. What track began hosting the Mason-Dixon 500 in 1971? You guys all got it. The answer is indeed Dover. Dover, of course. Patrick Stewart is a beautiful man. Yeah, I thought about just shaving it completely. I came pretty close when I was kind of keeping this up, especially during the pandemic. Like I forgot to put the guard on the beard trimmer, and so it just went literally just down to just very little. And I didn't think it looked that bad. It actually made this look kind of long, which was probably too much on that direction. But yeah, I'm open to it. I don't like looking like I'm just hanging on to my hair because I don't really care. Hair and me have not gotten along very well. So, guys like, I mean, certainly in the media landscape, I mean, my goodness, guys like Matt Weaver and everything like that, they make it work. So, you know, that's kind of the thing. But we'll see. We'll see. That'll be something further down the line there for sure. Let's get into our question here. Let's see. What track is found at the corner of West 16th and Georgetown Road? What track is found at the corner of West 16th and Georgetown Road? Hey there, Dylan Dalton. Welcome aboard. This is your warm-up mulligan stream. Yeah, exactly. I thought I was going to do like the thing where I had like the screen in the background. I might do that. I might do that for the August 11th stream if I can. I want to see if I can get that to work again because that was kind of before. The stream seemed like it wasn't working very well when I tried that. And I don't want to do a thing where I say, here's the stream, then I got to back out of it and start over again because that's always a pain. What track is found at the corner of West 16th and Georgetown Road? That's the latest question. No, I like the name change. Yeah, small European hockey markets fan. That's good. Always got to keep things interesting. What track is found at the corner of West 16th and Georgetown Road? The answer is Indianapolis, where we will be very soon here for the road course. All right. Come on, these questions are too easy. Let's get some harder ones here. All righty. Okay, well, here we go. This is a little bit of a tricky one here just because of the time period. So let's assume, I'll add this condition at the beginning here, like through, let's see, through 1998. Yeah, we'll say through 1998, what driver has won the most races at Martinsville and North Wilkesboro? Through 1998, what driver has won the most races at Martinsville and North Wilkesboro? So again, don't think about today. Think about further back. And don't look it up. Just try to guess there. What driver through 1998 has won the most races at Martinsville and North Wilkesboro? Should have known you were there in 2017. So there you go. You're 2 out of 5 tonight, Alexander. Okay. They're getting there. Could improve the average there along the way. Maserati 9, you were the first one on the Indy one, it looks like, too. Okay, we got guesses for Richard Petty. We got guesses for Darrell Waltrip there. Mark Martin. Through 1998, what driver has won the most races at Martinsville and North Wilkesboro? And the answer is, you guys got it, it's Richard Petty. There you go, Richard Petty. Charles Peterson Jr., I think you were the first one on that one. Right on. Let me see here. All right. Third one tonight. There you go. Let's do a couple more here. Ooh, here we go. What track had back-to-back races without a caution in the 70s? What track had back-to-back races without a caution in the 70s? Think about that one. The King, there you go, right on. What track had back-to-back races without a caution in the 70s? Alrighty. Okay, we got guesses for Talladega, Charlotte, Ontario. Good guesses, good guesses. What track had back-to-back races without a caution? Without a caution in the 70s. So a couple elements there. Drink a little bit more of my Tide Pods here. Okay, what guesses we got? We got Atlanta, Bristol, Michigan. Wanted to say short track, but they are so short that they are bunched up all the time. Of course, there's going to be some lockups. Very true. It's not Daytona. Daytona hadn't gone caution free since 1962. Maybe Talladega. These are good. These are good guesses. I'm gonna let a few more come in here. This is actually gonna be a good one. What track had back-to-back races without a caution in the 70s? That's the question. Those of you on board here tonight. Of course, mindful that I'm wearing my Matt DiBenedetto shirt after it's already been announced that he's leaving the team and everything, but luckily the name is not immediately visible, so it could just be kind of a regular Wood Brothers thing in general. Yeah. What track had back-to-back races without a caution in the 70s is our question. All right, we're going to do the answer. I think the answers are slowing down a little bit. Let's do this. The answer is Michigan. Michigan. I was going to say Bristol. I thought there was one, but I guess it was the one where they had back-to-back races where like the person led all the laps, but maybe that was the difference. Michigan. Michigan is correct. Somebody guessed that. Beast of Metal, you got it. Did anybody else get it? I don't think so. Talladega, Charlotte, Ontario, Atlanta. These are all good guesses. These are all good guesses. But Michigan. Yeah, how about that? That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, Michigan's boring. Yeah, Michigan might be good for the playoffs this year. I know. I'm sure everybody was pulling their hair out last week when I kept saying Bristol was before the playoffs, but of course that's not the same this year. So Michigan in this stretch here before we get to the cutoff race, Daytona. That if it turns out to be a fuel mileage thing like New Hampshire turned out to be, or something like that, you never know. I don't think it's going to necessarily be somebody just spanking the field. So. We'll see. We'll see. Here we go. Next question. What crop was grown on the site where Darlington now sits? What crop was grown on the site where Darlington now sits? Yeah, Michigan always felt was a fuel mileage race. Exactly, yeah. Well, apparently, yeah. Isn't that the issue with the Formula One race today? I heard something about it that it was an issue with fuel mileage and that they couldn't pull enough fuel out of one of the cars. It's like, well, that should be rewarded, not penalized, right? It's like you made it to the finish of this really short sprint race and you didn't run out of fuel. Is it presupposing that there was some illegal fuel system in there or something? I don't know. See, it's things like that that I can't get my head around. That's why I've never been like really hardcore into Formula One. It's also kind of factored into like being into IndyCar at the same time for the IndyCar 500. But yeah, going into that, it's just a different world. I mean, that's what's great about motorsports too. I was actually watching yesterday. I was watching a little bit of that 24 Hours of Spa. I thought that was really compelling. I've really enjoyed endurance racing more and more this year. I've always enjoyed the 24 Hours of Daytona, and certainly I can't imagine driving 24 hours around any of these tracks, but especially like Spa or Le Mans. Just crazy. And that wreck they had, I'm glad everybody was able to walk away from that. That one that was at the top of the hill there, unbelievable. Just, man, these guys are hardcore. What crop was grown on the site where Darlington now sits? I guess more has happened than it maybe makes it seem. Last week went by so quick. 2 weeks ago it seemed like the days kind of went by a bit slower, but last week it felt like it was Friday again before I knew it, which was fine, except that it was like, wait, there's no race this weekend. So that'll probably be the way. I mean, I don't know. We'll see what things look like this week. Yeah, IndyCar 500. I guess I started another meme from this. Oh, speaking of which, I couldn't resist the Tony Stark thing on Twitter the other day because I mean, I'm there's so many people that keep thinking, that like NASCAR man and myself are doing are the same person or anything like that, and I can't help but think like other examples of that. And I'm glad he was cool with it too, because I really there are really important differences between the work that he does and the work that I do on this channel here. Again, he has as I mentioned, again, I'm not really that big in IndyCar or Formula One. NASCAR has really been my focus. I'm kind of slowly branching out into this. NASCAR man, he's really into a lot of these other sports. He has a really good background with like IndyCar and endurance racing and stuff, and kind of brings those into those scripts. And I actually find myself learning a lot when I'm reading his scripts. Plus, his t-shirts are better than mine too, I gotta say. I'm working on closing the gap on that, but it's going to take a little while. So I couldn't resist promoting his channel and stuff yesterday with a bit of a meme there. So, but kudos to him on that. I think that Augusta video, we actually did recording on that quite a while ago. But obviously, I'm sure he's been catching up on things the same way I have, and so was finally able to get that one posted. But an interesting story. I mean, very macabre at the same point, but an interesting video there. So if you haven't checked out 6 out of 7 on NASCAR Man History's channel, definitely check it out, because that was another interesting. It happens to be a NASCAR story, but some of it's connected to other sports like IndyCar and so forth. Yeah, GP laps. See, you're hitting on the head. Yeah, it's just fun to say you like racing and there's so much to enjoy. Exactly. And fundamentally, it's the same thing. It's just there's quirky differences that maybe attract one person or another. So yeah, exactly. Like I say, I'm looking forward to the bicycle cyclotron thing that's coming up in the Olympics. If it hasn't happened already, I'm going to be browsing tonight to see if I can find it. What crop was grown on the site where Darlington now sits? Let's get the answer to this. The answer is peanuts. Peanuts, historically unlucky for motorsports. Peanut farm. Yeah, I thought it was something else. Did anybody guess that? I didn't even look at the answers here. Tobacco, cotton, corn, soy, soybean, tobacco, cotton, vettle, grain. Yeah. Yeah, peanuts. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think anybody guessed peanuts. I didn't see that on there. Yeah, love your stuff, by the way, GP Laps. So for sure, I think again, it's a really diverse. It's amazing how many people are in the motorsports community on YouTube here, and just what radically different stuff. Like I say, the difference between the stuff I do and stuff NASCAR man does. I mean, it's enough to be completely different channels and completely different content. And then you look at GP Laps or anybody else that brings in kind of that sim racing component to it too, which again for me is like I go as far as NASCAR Racing 99 edition, and then from there it's all Greek to me. So that's where that comes in. But I should do something more with that. I did that fantasy league thing back in 2015, but that was just kind of stupid. So I need to do something, because I have a car set that I did from back then that I haven't posted about it. Maybe I'll do that for a bonus video on the Patreon or something. I just need to give more time to do stuff like that, because I haven't done that lately. Make that worth the while there. We'll do a couple more questions here. We'll probably wrap up the show for today. But thank you again for tuning in here today. Here we go. Who won the Delaware 500? The year 991 of 1,000 laps were run under green. Who won the Delaware 500? The year 991 of 1,000 laps were run under green. Okay, this must mean, okay. So it must mean 991 of like 2 races at Dover. I don't think there was ever been a 1,000 lap Dover race. Can you imagine a 1,000 lap Dover race? A 500 lap Dover race is hard to imagine. This is only how it reads. Here, I'll show you on the screen. I'm not misreading it. It says, yeah. As they come into focus, it's not coming to focus very well. Oh, there we go. A little bit. 991 of 1,000 laps were run under green. That's okay. Yeah, that is a very oddly worded question. It must mean, yeah, during a year where 991 of 1,000 laps at Dover were run under green. Yeah. Yeah, the year. Okay. But yeah, that's that. Yeah, it's not worded very well. Who won the Delaware 500? So specifically one of the two Dover races, the year 991 of 1,000 laps were run under green. So we got that statistic kind of thrown in there. But yeah, still interesting. I mean, again, well, we got long green flag runs at the theme here. Maybe that's what we're going to get at Watkins Glen. Who knows? Going to be a lot of action though for that. Okay, so Dover just seems like a 1,000 lap race. Exactly, David Wilmot Ghost. Exactly. That'd be an absolutely grueling race. Yeah, no kidding. Imagine the equipment holding up to that. Who won the Delaware 500 the year 991 of 1,000 laps were run under green? So it happened sometime before 1999, at least for this. Bobby Allison and Cale Yarborough and Ricky Rudd and Lee Petty, I think, are the only. Oh, no, we got some other guesses here. Richard Petty, Bobby Allison, Bill Elliott, Kyle Petty. Yeah, Peanuts. Yeah. Alrighty. Who won the Delaware 500 the year 991 of 1,000 laps were run under green? I mean, yeah, it's great when a race is a gauntlet. Like, I think that's more interesting. And the answer is the King, Richard Petty. Richard Petty is indeed the answer. And you're right, Good Eye Brian. RP is always a good guess. Absolutely. Kyle Petty, yeah, he used to be very good at Dover, WF Hornet. Yeah, same thing like Rockingham, too. Rockingham and Dover, he was, even late in his career, I think there was a race, I think his first race in the Hot Wheels car in 97, he had a really good run there. He had like a top 5 run, potentially a chance at another win a couple of years after his last win in 95 in the Coors Light car. Still love that paint scheme. I loved it when Larson did the throwback, even if the colors weren't exactly right. Loved that paint job. The 1995 Kyle Petty car. Pontiac really peaked. Pontiac peaked in 1995, and they weren't good again until 2003 in terms of like style. I mean, obviously they won championships, so you know it's aesthetics I'm talking about here, not wins or anything. But yeah, love those 2003 Pontiacs, but even more than that, the 1991 to 95 Pontiacs. I don't care how uncompetitive they were. I think those are gorgeous machines. Alrighty. Okay, so we'll do one more question here for tonight, and this would be a good one here with the theme of rain shortened events or shortened events in general after our one at New Hampshire a couple weeks ago. So last question for tonight. Who won the first rained out Pepsi 400 on lap 117 when the caution flag came out? Don't look it up. Just try to guess it. Who won the first rained out Pepsi 400 on lap 117 when the caution flag came out? Yeah, love the Pontiacs. It's amazing. I mean, I guess GM just didn't have the resources to pay attention to all these brands. You lost Oldsmobile and Buick, and then they still had Pontiac hanging on there with Chevy for as long as they could. And then, yeah, they peaked with like the best looking car they ever had. And then suddenly they were just gone. And I remember where I was. I remember where I was at UC Irvine. I was in the study center that had these old iMacs in their like computer room. And, you didn't have smartphones back then. This is 2003 into 2004. And browsing on NASCAR online on a dial-up connection, seeing the NASCAR.com site say like, oh yeah, they're not going to have Pontiac next year, and all these guys are going to Chevrolets, and it's like it was so sad. But maybe they'll make a comeback the way Hydrox cookies have. Who knows? Who won the first rained out Pepsi 400 on lap 117 when the caution flag came out. Okay, we got guesses for Sterling Marlin, Bobby Allison, Jeff Gordon, David Pearson, Dale Sr., Richard Petty, Martin Nikas, Jeff Bodine. Oh, Alexander Green, you got one of Jerry Nadeau's cars in 24 scale. Good call. Again, you love it. Well, again, the Pontiacs right here. This Tide thing again. You got the drop snout, or the kind of looks closer to the 2002 style, but the headlights are a little bigger like the 2003s. So you got that there too. Detergent. Okay. Who won the first rained out Pepsi 400 on lap 117 when the caution flag came out? Here comes the answer. It is indeed Sterling Marlin. Sterling Marlin is the correct answer. So it took a very long time for the Pepsi 400 to be rain shortened. Isn't that interesting? You would think it would be a little bit earlier than that, perhaps, with track drying technology not being even what it was in the mid 90s. So Sterling Marlin is your correct answer. Who got that? I think somebody did. Just a Chad. Looks like you got it. Richard Petty, Kyle. You're the only one that got it? I thought somebody else had it. Richard. Yeah, I think so. Right on. Well, there you go. Yeah, it's amazing, especially with in the summer. It seems like every year now, before they even moved it to August now, which is even more suspect with hurricane season being what it is. It seemed like the last few years of July, of course, Justin Haley, who's talked about his win, of course, earlier. It always happened every single year. One thing or another was completely affected by it. So thank you so much in the meantime, everyone, for tuning in there. That'll do it for the show here for tonight. Our next show is going to be when NASCAR returns this next weekend at Watkins Glen for the Go Bowling at the Glen, the Xfinity Series, the Truck Series, and of course, Brad Perez's ARCA debut in the ARCA Series as well. A lot to talk about here. The entry list storylines will be coming up this week on Thursday. Hope to have the JD McDuffie audiobook reposted about that time. And then, of course, the Wednesday after that on August 11th. Stay tuned right here to this channel as well, where I'll be reading excerpts from JD, The Life and Death of a Forgotten NASCAR Legend, and sharing some other photos and so forth on that. So don't miss that as well. We'll have more details on that as we get closer to it. So thank you again so much for tuning in. Enjoy the Olympics and everything in the remainder of the off week here. We'll be back racing very shortly, and we'll be back here to talk about it. So take care, everyone. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next week.